It proves that
People assume it's about being invisible. It's not. It's about if you can lock on properly or not. First time I heard about the Growler, I had no idea the level of shit it carries. The confusing weapon that confuses radar and makes it think that a 3-4 plane, even though it's not. Phantom images, direct frying the thing, all these anti-radiation weapons. Holy shit! This is one of the best and awesome, plane that is. It should get more love than it does, man. Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to CG Reaction. This is why the US Navy could use CVN-77 as a sea hammer in the Persian Gulf. What is a CVN-77? Another aircraft carrier? Alright, this is going to be interesting. This is my channel, Navy Decoded. This channel has been getting a lot of views recently. Comparatively, how much subscriber it has, 32,000. I'm surprised. I thought the subscriber count would go really high. So yeah, go to original video page and from there support this channel. It's a really decent channel. I like the information it gives. So yeah, let's watch this one.
January 2026, the Persian Gulf. The board is set, the pieces are moving. If you listen to the press briefings from the Pentagon, the United States has already achieved strategic dominance. They point to the Northern Arabian Sea. They show you the USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-77, the Scalpel, the carrier equipped with the F-35C Lightning II. They tell you that 5th generation stealth has locked down the airspace. Then they point to the ground. They show you Operation Agile Spartan. The United States Air Force has deployed the 494th Fighter Squadron to the region, the F-15E Strike Eagles, the heavy hitters. The trucks carrying 23,000 pounds of ordnance each. On paper, the equation looks balanced. You have the invisible ghost in the air. You have the brute force on the ground. The media calls this a perfect deterrent. But here at Navy Decoded, we do not look at press releases. We look at
Yeah, it's F-15E, right? There is an F-15EX which is in the works, or is it like already built? It's supposed to carry even more payload, which is insane.
the math. And when you run the logistics calculus on this perfect deterrent, it collapses. There is a fatal flaw in this formation, a gaping hole in the sustainment logic that no one is talking about. Look at the F-15E. It is the king of the sky. Yes, but it is a slave to the ground. It requires a fixed runway. It requires concrete infrastructure in Qatar or the UAE. In 2026, against an adversary like Iran, a fixed runway is not an asset, it is a target. Iranian ballistic missile doctrine is built entirely around runway denial. If the conflict goes kinetic, those air bases are erased in the first 10 minutes. If the runway is gone,
I saw just yesterday a video about Fatah 2, which is a ballistic missile from Iran that can maneuver. It goes to Mach 5, like what's the point of ballistic if it has to go like, what is it, like makeshift cruise missile? I don't know. But it maneuvers at Mach 5. Somebody pointed out in the comments like you can't maneuver that much. So I don't know what's that about. But that must be some kind of a risk. This is why Qatar and Saudi Arabia is saying no to America. Like, don't use our space. We don't want that.
F-15E is nothing more than a museum exhibit. Now look at the Lincoln. It survives because it moves, but it fights with the F-35C to maintain stealth, to be the scalpel. The F-35 must carry its weapons internally. Physics dictates geometry. The internal bays are small. They cannot carry the volume of fire required to dismantle a nation-state's infrastructure. The Lincoln is excellent for the day one strike, but what happens on day 7? What happens when the war turns into a grinding attrition fight? The Lincoln runs out of punch. The Air Force runs out of runways. The United States runs out of options. To solve this equation, we don't need another miracle jet. We need a ghost from the Atlantic. Right now, steaming east from Norfolk is the variable X. The USS George H.W. Bush,
Oh,
CVN-77.
Oh, it's the first Bush, the 90s one. George H.W. Bush.
X. The USS George.
This is CVN. So all aircraft carriers are coded CVNs. All right. This is so this is for the Persian Gulf.
H.W. Bush, CVN-77. The Pentagon has not officially confirmed it is joining the Lincoln. They call it routine training. Do not believe the handshake. The math demands this ship's presence. It is the inevitable solution to the logistics gap. But this ship brings something that the Lincoln does not. It brings a
The obvious solution to logistical gap. What's better than one aircraft carrier? Two.
Soul. This ship carries the name of the only president who was shot down in combat and survived to lead the nation. It carries the ghost of a 20-year-old pilot drifting in the Pacific Ocean. 1944. Bleeding, but
Oh, wait a minute. That's what that is about. George Bush, like, he tried to kill my father. That's what that's what the whole thing is about. Oh, all right. So George S.W. Bush. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, he was in army. Oh, okay, army or something, right? In military. And yeah, I remember that.
Broken, refusing to surrender to the sea. That is the DNA burned into the steel of CVN-77. It is the spirit of resilience. It doesn't glide, it stomps. It doesn't hide in the shadows, it owns the horizon. This ship was not built for politicians, it was built for pilots. Its call sign is Avenger. It carries the spirit of a man who knows what it feels like to dive into anti-aircraft fire. But, while the soul is perfect, the body is broken. CVN-77 is the black sheep of the fleet. It is the 10th and final ship of the Nimitz class, but it is not a Nimitz, not really. It is a mutant. It is a traditional platform, caught between the proven engineering of the past and the experimental physics of the future Gerald R. Ford class. And like all experiments, it has a defect, a structural scar. CVN-77 fights a congenital list due to the radical displacement of the bulbous bow and the shifted island. The ship has a natural, permanent tendency to roll to starboard.
What?
So,
really?
How did the Navy fix this multi-billion-dollar drift? Did they redesign the hull? No, that was too expensive. They chose the brute force solution. They didn't just rely on pumping water. Fluid is unstable. Instead, they performed corrective surgery. Deep in the bowels of the ship, on the port side keel, engineers installed hundreds of tons of solid ballast. We are talking about massive blocks of dead weight, pig iron and lead.
What? All right, that I guess that works, sure, but like, it doesn't that like take some space? Like, is that the best engineering you can do? I guess the alternative was like doing all the structural thing, which, yeah, it might cost a lot to make sense.
Welded permanently into the voids. Think about the physics of that. To make the bush effective, they had to intentionally make it heavier. They added parasitic mass. They anchored the port side down to stop the starboard side from rising. It is a linebacker wearing ankle weights to stay balanced. This is the heavy price of being a mutant. So, here is the thesis. Here is the question that defines the strategy of 2026. Why does the United States send a ship that lists to the right? Why send a Frankenstein vessel, one that drags dead iron through the water, to the most dangerous choke point on Earth? Because war is not a beauty pageant. When the stealth wears off and the runways are craters, you don't need perfection, you need vengeance. The Lincoln is there to pick the lock. The Bush is coming to kick the door down. To understand why the George H.W. Bush is the linchpin of this operation, we have to strip away the glamour of the F-35 and look at the gritty reality of sustainment. We have to analyze the triangle of destruction that the U.S.
Man, just get to the, like, does it have more F-15? That's the point?
Navy is trying to build. First, let's drill deeper into the failure point of the F-15E Strike Eagle. Operation Agile Spartan relies on the concept of ACE, Agile Combat Employment. The theory is that you disperse your jets to small, rough airfields to avoid missile attacks. It sounds smart, but it is a logistical nightmare. An F-15E burns 30,000 pounds of fuel per mission. It drops 10 tons of ordnance. You cannot supply that kind of volume to a dozen scattered desert airstrips indefinitely. Eventually, the logistics chain snaps, and the moment the Iranian missile forces, the high-altitude wall, lock onto those coordinates, the land-based air power is neutralized. The hammer on the ground is glass. It breaks. Second, look at the limitations of the Abraham Lincoln. The Lincoln is operating in the stand-in role. Its primary weapon is the F-35C from VMF A314. This aircraft is designed to penetrate the Bavar 373 air defense network. To do that, it must be clean. No external fuel tanks, no external missiles. Everything is tucked inside the fuselage to maintain that microscopic radar cross-section. This creates a volume trap. The F-35 can kill a specific radar site. It can assassinate a specific command bunker, but it cannot wipe out an armored division.
Yeah, it's more like spec ops, special operations than anything, right? If you want to do specific special things, yeah, F-35 is awesome. It won't carry that much ordnance. If it does, like, I always assume, like, even if it carries a lot of ordnance, it's still gonna have better radar cross-section than F-15, just because of the shape, how it's made. Or it's not, that's not how it works. I don't know, man. But yeah, like, at that point, if basically it's a threshold. If certain threshold is crossed, doesn't matter what your cross-section is, like, you're exposed. I guess that's the point here. But isn't the Ford class better for this? Because Ford class has like the delivery system of like payloads, the elevators, magnetic things. Like Ford class is made for like you can refit faster. So even with F-35, can't you go back and forth and like you like refit it and like attack again, circulate back, attack again? Like can't you create a logistical chain like that you don't have to put payload outside? I think Ford class can do that, but the point is that they don't have Ford. Ford is at Venezuela.
It cannot sink a swarm of 200 fast attack craft. It lacks the magazine depth. It is a sniper rifle. You don't use a sniper rifle to stop a riot. This is the gap.
Riot?
The US Navy has the eyes, the Lincoln, and the power, the F-15, but they lack the sustainable mass. Enter the George H.W. Bush. This ship brings Carrier Air Wing 7, CVW-7, the heavy wing. Look at the flight deck of CVN-77. You will not see a single F-35C. You will see rows of FA-18EF Super Hornet, Block 3. To the amateur, this looks like...
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. America's main aircraft carrier planes are Super Hornets. Why are we talking about F-15s? Like, okay, F-15 is heavyweight, but yeah, you probably would use like FA-18, right? Like, Super Hornets are insane. If you're not going to use the 5th gen plane, then you're going to use Super Hornets, 4.5 gen plane, right? F-15 is like heavyweight, like he said. But for anything else, like, yeah, you would use Super Hornets. Why not?
Like a downgrade. Why use the old jet? To the strategist, this is the solution. Because the Lincoln is already in the theater providing stealth coverage, the Bush does not need to hide. The Super Hornets on CVN-77 operate in beast mode. They utilize every single external hardpoint on the wings. They are not carrying 2 bombs internally, they are carrying 10 bombs externally. They are flying with extended range fuel tanks. They are not snipers, they are dump trucks.
By the way, Super Hornet also have the smallest cross-section besides 5th gen planes. Super Hornets have smaller cross-sections than Su-57. Or maybe Chinese one as well, I don't know about that. But Su-57 definitely. So Super Hornet is not bad when it comes to stealth, like it can still do the job.
They provide the volume of fire that the F-35 cannot. And most importantly, CVN-77 is the indestructible airfield. It runs on 2 Westinghouse A4W nuclear reactors. It moves at 30+ knots. It cannot be targeted by the pre-programmed ballistic missiles that threaten the F-15s in Qatar. It brings its own runway. It brings its own city. It is strategic redundancy. If the air bases burn, the Bush keeps launching. If the Lincoln runs out of stealth munitions, the Bush keeps hammering with conventional steel. The Pentagon is building a kill box. Lincoln is the eye. F-15 is the land hammer. Bush is the sea hammer. It is a triad. Remove one leg, and the structure falls. Add CVN-77, and you have a cage that the enemy cannot escape.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I realized what people were telling me. The Navy needs the 6th gen plane more than the Air Force does. F-47 is not important, the Navy one is. I see it now. If you had a 6th gen plane, which all the 6th gen planes, including F-47, is made in a way that has a long range and somehow can still fit a lot of ordnance inside. So Navy's version probably would have been able to like fit more ordnance inside compared to F-35 or even F-22. So if they had that, imagine that right now, right? You would have no issue.
But let's go back to the machine itself. I called CVN-77 a mutant. That wasn't a metaphor. This ship is a collection of engineering anomalies that prove just how difficult it is to push the of naval physics. If you look at the waterline of CVN-77, you will see something that exists on no other US aircraft carrier, a massive protruding bulb extending forward from the hull. This is the bulbous bow. It is standard on commercial supertankers, but for the US Navy, it was a radical experiment. Here is the fluid dynamics principle: destructive interference. When a standard bow cuts through the water, it creates a bow wave. This wave is energy, wasted energy. It creates drag that pulls the ship back. The bulb is designed to force a secondary wave of water up and over the bow. Mathematically, this secondary wave is exactly 180 degrees out of phase with the primary bow wave. Peak meets trough. They collide. They cancel each other out. The water flattens. The drag coefficient drops. The result is massive amounts of lift, buoyancy, and a significant increase in fuel efficiency for the reactor cores. But physics demands a trade-off. This bulb changes the center of buoyancy. It alters the hydrostatic stability of the hull. This is the root of the list. The ship fights its own efficiency. It is so buoyant forward that it becomes unstable laterally when loaded unsymmetrically. We traded stability for speed. We accepted the flaw to get the performance. Look closer at the superstructure. On a standard Nimitz class like the Eisenhower, the island is a massive block of steel bristling with spinning antennas. To a radar wave, that is a corner reflector. It screams, "I am here." CVN-77 changed the signature. Look at the island. It is smaller. It is moved further aft. The clutter of rotating radars is gone, replaced by a composite mass structure that absorbs energy rather than reflecting it. The navigation bridge windows are armored glass, installed at a specific downward angle. Why? To deflect the incoming radar pulse down into the ocean, killing the return signal.
I like Ford class has a similar thing as well, I'm gonna guess, because this is literally the 10th one of the latest one comparatively. So they did all this shit to become more stealthier in a way. So Ford class will probably have even more stealthier element to it. Radar absorbed material, yeah.
CVN-77 is not invisible. You cannot hide 100,000 tons completely, but it significantly reduces the radar horizon. It forces the enemy to come closer to get a firing solution.
Yeah, exactly.
It proves that
people assume it's about being invisible. It's not. It's about if you can lock on properly or not. Any lock-on thing is already questionable, right? Even with the old type of non-stealthier things. If you lock onto something, missiles still will have a hard time to completely 100% hit the target. Maybe modern missiles are different, but that's been the case for a long time. And now you make it even more stealthier, yeah, it will have a hard time targeting. You need many things to target, like how America relies on not just radar, like thermals, geosatellite, to target something with high efficiency. I'm guessing China Russia started to do that as well. But something like Iran, like Fatah 2, right? If that targets this and it has a hard time detecting it, it might drop into ocean or something if it's not shot down already.
We're trying to evolve the hull form before we even had the new technology to fill it. The world obsesses over radar, but in the Persian Gulf, the real killer hides below the thermal layer.
Damn.
The Iranian Kilo-class submarine. It is a diesel-electric hole in the water, silent, deadly. Against a submarine, a carrier is usually a mobile factory. It is loud. The cavitation from the screws, the propellers, usually sounds like a freight train underwater. Cavitation is the enemy. When a propeller blade slices through water at high speed, the pressure on the trailing edge drops so low that the water boils. It creates vacuum bubbles. When those bubbles collapse, they explode. Shockwaves, noise. CVN-77 fights this with geometry. It uses 4 bronze propellers, but the blade...
Why does it keep saying geometry? Yeah, it makes sense. You don't have to say it like that, but yeah. Skewed blade. Oh, all right, damn, man. I didn't know George Bush is badass. All right.
Blade design is a radical departure from the previous 9
acoustic stuff, yeah. Who thinks shit like this, right? I mean, there must be people sitting in Pentagon or who made this ship? I get it, the Boeing and Lockheed Martin makes planes. Who makes ships, man? I don't know, maybe similar people are sitting there thinking, propellers, let's do something about that. And there you go, we have this shit now.
Ships. The geometry is optimized to cut the water rather than tear it. It delays the onset of cavitation. The tactical result? It does not make the ship silent. That is impossible. But it defeats the enemy's math. It reduces the detection radius. Instead of hearing the carrier from 50 miles away, the Iranian submarine commander might only hear a vague rumble at 20 miles. It forces the enemy to come closer to verify the target, and when they come closer, they enter the kill zone of our destroyer escorts. CVN-77 uses silence as a trap, but here is where the Frankenstein reality hurts us. CVN-77 has the body of the future, stealth features, bulbous bow, but it has the heart of the past. It is powered by two Westinghouse A4W reactors. These are 1970s technology. They generate 260,000 shaft horsepower. That is enough to move the ship, but it is not enough to power the future. The new Ford-class ships use Bechtel A1B reactors that generate 3 times the electrical power. Why does this matter? Lasers, railguns, directed energy weapons. Those weapons eat electricity. CVN-77 has hit its energy ceiling. It has no electrical overhead. It cannot mount the massive lasers required to burn down drone swarms instantly.
Wait a minute, you can't swap out the core? Like if you have like somewhat decent tech on board, like if you have a new core, like new one that you put in Ford class, is it not modular like that?
It relies on missiles. It relies on its escorts. This is the tragedy of the transitional model. It is the peak of the old world, staring at the new world, but unable to cross the threshold.
That is so true.
It is a king that needs guards because it cannot hold the new sword. So, if the ship cannot power its own lasers, how does it survive a saturation attack? How does it stop 500 drones without going bankrupt firing 500 missiles?
Planes?
It outsources the violence. It brings the electronic wall. Look at the Escort sailing alongside CVN-77, the USS Nitze, the USS James E. Williams. Look at the superstructure. You see those massive, bulbous protrusions on the side of the bridge? The sailors call them muffin tops. The enemy calls them blackout. This is the ANSL Q-32V7, SEWIP, Block 3. In the past, electronic warfare was passive. It was about listening. SEWIP Block 3 is active. It is a weapon. It uses AESA, Active Electronically Scanned Array technology, to fire concentrated beams of microwave energy.
Not like that, I'm guessing. That's Helios, right? I mean, this is the one you can't see, probably.
Here is the war economics. An SM-2 interceptor missile costs $2 million. An Iranian Shahed drone costs $20,000.
Damn, that's some next level shit.
If you shoot missiles at drones, you lose the war financially before the first week is over. SEWIP changes the math. It does not use ammunition, it uses electricity. It targets the guidance circuits of the incoming drone. It fries the motherboard.
Yeah, you don't use guns to shoot down mosquitoes or flies. You use bug zappers. Just makes sense. It's just common sense at this point. Oh, look how cheap the drones are. Yeah, those drones are cheap. With everything they have, it's cheap. Very easy to shoot down. Let's just give it microwave weapons. There you go. Problem solved.
Severs the control link. It creates an infinite magazine. As long as the destroyer has fuel to run its generators, it can keep shooting. It burns the swarm out of the sky without expending a single kinetic interceptor. That is defense. Now let's talk about offense. CVN-77 launches the EA-18G Growler from VAQ-140, the Patriots. Hanging under the wings of these jets is the ANA LQ-249.
I'm not gonna lie, the first time I heard about the Growler, I'm like, yeah, right, who cares? Yeah, all right. Some kind of like a Hornet-style plane that just attacks radar. I had no idea the level of shit it carries. The confusing weapon that confuses radar and makes it think that a 3-4 plane, even though it's not. Phantom images, direct frying the thing, all these anti-radiation weapons. Holy shit, this is one of the best and awesome, plane there is. It should get more love than it does, man.
9. Next Generation Jammer Midband, NGJMB. Old jammers used vacuum tubes. They were omnidirectional. They were like turning on a flashlight in a dark room. You blinded the enemy, but they knew exactly where you were. The NGJMB uses gallium nitride chips. It is a sniper rifle.
Ooh. Wait a minute, America's already using gallium nitride chips? What? I mean, military is always like, like the technology is here, let's just use it. Commercially, it will be available 15 years from now, but military, let's just use it. This is awesome.
Of energy. It can form high-power, pencil-thin beams of jamming energy. It can target multiple specific radars simultaneously. It doesn't just create noise, it inserts false targets. It rewrites the enemy's reality. The Lincoln uses stealth to hide from radar. The Bush uses the Growler to burn the radar's retina. It clears the path for the heavy bombers. And for the ultimate threat, the Iranian Fatah hypersonic missile. The Escorts carry the SM-6 Dual 2. This missile does what others cannot. It intercepts in the terminal phase, inside the atmosphere. It uses a high explosive fragmentation warhead, not a
Is this part of the Aegis system?
hit-to-kill kinetic vehicle. Why? Because hitting a maneuvering target moving at Mach 15 is like shooting a bullet with a bullet while blindfolded. Fragmentation increases the odds. It creates a cloud of shrapnel in the path of the hypersonic weapon. It turns the sky.
That's what I was saying in the yesterday's video from AI Telly. Like it says like, oh, it's gonna maneuver at Mach 5. I'm like, just create this fragmentation like a shotgun time effect with a fuse. So whatever direction it changes, it still hits something.
Into a minefield. Now, we assemble the machine. We have the components. How do they execute the mission? This is the flush and crush doctrine. It begins with the USS Abraham Lincoln, the F-35C's launch. They push deep into Iranian airspace, but they do not transmit. They are in passive mode.
They go deep into Iran, past Iraq, goes to Israel, turns around, grab a coffee or something, comes back because nobody's going to detect them.
They use their sensors to soak up electromagnetic emissions. They find the mobile missile launchers hiding in the mountains. They find the radar sites. They are the flush. They are the silent hunters.
All of them. Mobile launchers in mountains. Whole point of mobile launchers, they can move out, these big heavy trucks. On mountains, isn't that hard to move out once you launch the missile? What is it, like Range Rover just gonna climb the fucking mountain with that being heavy? Isn't that problem in itself?
The F-35C gets a lock, but it has only 2 heavy bombs. It cannot waste them on a low-value target. So, it transmits the coordinates. It uses the NTCDL network, Tactical Common Data Link, which was upgraded on CVN-77 in 2024. This is the digital backbone. It moves terabytes of targeting data in milliseconds.
All right. Look at the luck. Just 2 years ago, it was like Bush was updated. All right. This is what F-35 is all about, right? Like giving information out there, and Bush can do that.
The data jumps from the F-35 to the E-2D Hawkeye to the George H.W. Bush on the deck of the Bush. The Jolly Rogers of VFA 103 are waiting. Their Super Hornets are heavy. They launch. They do not enter the high threat zone. From hundreds of miles away, from the safety of the standoff range, they fire.
I like how you raise those, like things to create pressure when it jumps out, so it has more pressure ahead.
They unleash a volley of AGM-88 GAAR, GM, ERS to blind the enemy radars, and AGM-158 CLRASMS to break the enemy fleet. The missiles fly autonomously. They follow the electronic path cleared by the Growlers. They strike the coordinates painted by the F-35s. The F-35 points the finger. The Super Hornet pulls the trigger. This is networked lethality.
F-35, that's the son of a bitch. Go get him. I genuinely never thought of F-35 like that, man. Clearly military did, but yeah, I never understood like F-35. Every time people think about jets, they think about jet does all the job. But yeah, like it can only have 2 missiles, whatever. It doesn't need to shoot. Just point the thing out, and everybody else can take care of it.
Before we close the ledger, a brief message. Creating this level of analysis, decoding the physics of war, is a battle against the noise. The algorithm favors the simple and the loud. It tries to bury complexity. So, if you respect the engineering and value the truth, don't just watch in stealth mode. Toggle your transponder to on. Hit that subscribe button. Prove that intelligence still matters. And if you're with us, type proud in the comments.
Yeah, people aren't gonna type proud, man. That doesn't work. Just like, yeah, subscribe. I'm surprising people are not subscribing enough because his video gets near 1 million views a lot of times. This video just few days old, 150,000 views. Okay, people need to subscribe, I guess. 30. Then again, subscribers, does that matter that much? Because you can have a lot of subscribers but no views. You can have a lot of views but very little subscriber. In the end, views matter somewhat. But yeah, subscribers, like in the end, maybe, I don't know. Right, well, there you go. Why the US Navy could use CVN-77 George H.W. Bush, a sea hammer in the Persian Gulf. Okay, it is going there. They're saying it's a training exercise, but it is going there. We keep forgetting that any military operation takes a long time. It's just been 2-3 weeks, like some time like that, right? And USA is like gathering resources there. This might be months long attack or something, or planned attack. Iran thing has not died down. Like we think like, oh, maybe nothing's gonna happen. Nope, something might happen. There's a back and forth between Iran and USA, right? There's a real chance where Iran might comes to term to America and Trump, basically. This could be just a deterrent or like a pressuring tactic. Like this might work without even launching a single thing. All right, well, I'll see you next time.